I always believed that marriages fall apart slowly, like a soft leak, not a sudden explosion. But now I realize some cracks were there long before I dared to notice them. Daniel and I had been married for 8 years. We weren't perfect, but we were comfortable. Or at least I thought we were. Until I started noticing things that didn't quite add up. The late-night calls labeled urgent, the new cologne he wore to team meetings, and that strange, detached smile he started giving me when I'd ask how his day went. I didn't jump to conclusions. I'm not that woman. I brushed it off, told myself he was just stressed. His company had gone through restructuring. He'd been put in charge of training a new team member, someone young and ambitious named Sasha. I remembered Sasha. I met her once, briefly, at a corporate holiday party. She had that look. Confident, pretty, overly familiar with everyone, especially Daniel. That night, she laughed at every joke he cracked, even the dry ones. She touched his arm when she spoke. Daniel had acted like he didn't notice, but I saw the way he straightened his posture around her, how his smile lingered a little too long. Still, I convinced myself it was harmless. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was just insecure. That word echoed in my head like an accusation I gave myself. I didn't want to be that kind of wife, the paranoid, suspicious kind. So I let it go. But letting it go didn't make the feeling disappear. It festered quietly. I found myself scrolling through his Instagram stories, checking his LinkedIn to see if there were pictures of new team outings. My stomach sank one evening when I saw a photo Sasha posted. It was blurry, low light, but Daniel's silhouette was unmistakable. They were clinking glasses. The caption read, "To promotions and possibilities. Cheers, career moves." That night, Daniel came home late again. He smelled like wine, said he was out with the team, celebrating someone's promotion. When I asked whose, he said it casually. "Oh, Sasha. She finally got that position she wanted." Something inside me clicked. Not anger, not jealousy. It was sharper, colder. I smiled and nodded. He didn't notice anything was wrong. Or maybe he didn't care. I stayed up that night, unable to sleep. I kept going back to Sasha's post. Something about it didn't feel like a work event. It felt intimate, private. I clicked on her profile and scrolled. She was all over the place. Dinners, drinks, office selfies. One video caught my eye. A slow pan of a wine bar, dim lighting, jazz music, 2 glasses across the table. She didn't show who she was with, but I knew. I could have confronted him right there. But what would that do? He'd deny it, make excuses, maybe even make me feel crazy. That's when I decided I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to catch him. The next morning, I called in sick at work. Not because I was sick, but because I needed space to think. I kept replaying the restaurant scene in my mind. Where would they go? Was he planning something that night? Later that afternoon, I made a move that would change everything. I emailed Sasha's boss, Mr. Klein, a senior executive I'd met once at a conference. I framed it as a casual networking outreach, told him I admired his company's work and wanted to chat over coffee about a potential marketing collaboration. To my surprise, he replied within 2 hours. Said he'd be in town and was available that evening. I suggested a quiet, upscale wine bar, one I knew Daniel loved, one he might have taken Sasha to. Mr. Klein agreed. That evening, I dressed sharply. Professional but elegant. Nothing loud. Nothing emotional. I wasn't going there as a wife. I was going as a woman who deserved to know the truth. When I arrived, Mr. Klein was already waiting. We chatted briefly, polite small talk, but I wasn't focused on him. I was scanning the room. And then I saw them. Across the room, nestled in a candle-lit corner booth, Daniel and Sasha, leaning in close, laughing, 2 wine glasses in front of them. 2 people with no idea what was about to happen. I turned to Mr. Klein and smiled. "Would you mind if we sat over there instead? I think I see someone I know." He raised an eyebrow but followed me. As we walked toward the table, I felt every heartbeat like a drum inside my chest. Not from fear, from clarity, from knowing this was the moment I would stop doubting myself. Daniel looked up and saw me, first. And in that moment, the color drained from his face. Sasha turned around, her lips still mid-laugh, until she froze too. I smiled at both of them. Daniel, Sasha, what a surprise. And there are moments in life where the world goes silent, not because it's quiet, but because your mind has sharpened into a blade. That's how I felt when Daniel saw me, standing there with Mr. Klein. His eyes widened, panic flickering, behind the mask he usually wore so well. Sasha, on the other hand, tried to keep her composure, but her hand trembled slightly as she set down her wine glass. I could hear her voice in my head from that night at the office party. Your husband is so funny. I wish my boss were that relaxed. And now here we were. My husband, her funny mentor, sitting across from her at a dinner he had lied to me about. And me, standing beside her real boss. I didn't give them a chance to speak first. Daniel, I said smoothly, I thought you said this was a group dinner. It seems cozy for a team event. He stood up abruptly, his words stumbling out. Amara, it's not what it looks like. Mr. Klein glanced between them, then looked at me. You two work together? He asked Sasha, almost as if confirming something he already suspected. Sasha stood too, her face flushed. Mr. Klein, this was just a casual dinner, a personal celebration. Oh? Mr. Klein replied, his tone flat. Funny. You didn't mention your promotion. To me. I assumed I'd be informed before a subordinate toasted their own success in a public setting, especially with someone not from their direct department. Daniel tried to regain control. Let's not blow this out of proportion. It's just a dinner. I turned to him then, really looking at him. The man I married, the man I used to know, was gone. What I saw now was a stranger caught in his own trap, spinning lies out of habit, not guilt. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't cry. I simply said, You've been lying to me for weeks, maybe months. I gave you space, Daniel. I trusted you, and you filled that space with secrets. He looked like he wanted to reach for my hand, but couldn't. Not with Mr. Klein standing right there. Not with Sasha looking like she was about to faint. Sasha spoke next, her voice cracking slightly. Amara, this isn't how it seems. Daniel and we've only recently started talking outside of work. It wasn't planned. I turned my eyes to her. Cold. Direct. You don't owe me an explanation, but I want you to know something. When women build each other up, we all rise. But when you knowingly sleep with someone's husband and act like it's just timing, you degrade yourself more than anyone else. Mr. Klein adjusted his jacket. Sasha, he said, you'll need to come to my office tomorrow. I have a few questions about workplace ethics and your understanding of professional boundaries. Her face went pale. Sir, He cut her off with a simple hand gesture. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. That's not a suggestion. Daniel tried one last time to control the situation. Amara, can we talk? Just us, please. I looked at him with what I think was genuine pity. Talk? Now you want to talk? After all the missed calls, the late nights, the half-truths, you didn't want to talk then. There was a moment of silence between us. A silence louder than anything either of us could say. Mr. Klein cleared his throat and turned to me. Shall we go? I think we've overstayed our welcome. I nodded. Without another word, I walked out of the restaurant beside him, heels clicking steadily across the marble floor, head high. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Outside, in the cool night air, the adrenaline started to wear off. Mr. Klein offered to call me a cab, but I declined. You didn't have to come tonight, I told him. He smiled faintly. I had a feeling it wasn't just about business. Besides, I don't like seeing dishonesty flourish in my company. You showed me something I needed to see. I thanked him and walked to my car, When I shut the door and finally exhaled, I felt the sting behind my eyes. Not tears of grief, but release. Everything made sense now. Every gut feeling I'd ignored, every excuse I'd swallowed. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't insecure, I was right. And that truth was enough to break something inside me. But it also built something new, something stronger, something done pretending everything was fine. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was heartbroken, but because my mind was finally clear. There were no more questions, no more wondering if I was overthinking, no more pretending that Daniel and I were still building something. We weren't. Whatever we'd built had rotted from the inside, and I had just exposed the termites. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase, just the essentials. No dramatics, no goodbye letter, just enough to tell Daniel I was stepping away before he tried to explain away the inexcusable. I drove to my sister's house on the edge of town. She opened the door, looked at my face, and didn't ask a single question. Just pulled me into a hug and said, "I knew something was wrong." Daniel called me 12 times that day. I didn't answer once. He sent messages, paragraphs long, saying he made a mistake, that he didn't know how to stop what had started, that he never meant to hurt me. The words looked like they were cut and pasted from every cliché in the book. By evening, he sent one final text. "Can we just talk? I'll do anything, please." But I had nothing left to say. The silence was louder. 2 days later, Sasha was suspended pending an internal investigation. Mr. Klein had kept his word. Apparently, several boundaries had been crossed, not just with Daniel. Other male colleagues had also received complaints, and Sasha's name kept surfacing. I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't angry either, just numb. Actions have consequences. Some people learn that too late. A week passed, then another. I started sleeping better. I went for walks. I journaled, cried, drank herbal tea in the middle of the night just because I could. I started rediscovering parts of myself that had been buried under compromise, tiny pieces I'd chipped away for the sake of holding on to a marriage that, in truth, had stopped being mutual long ago. Daniel emailed me. It was different this time. He didn't beg, he confessed. He admitted that it started innocently. Late-night talks with Sasha, drinks after work. He said he felt admired, respected, seen in a way he hadn't felt in years. I didn't reply, because buried in that confession was the truth. He had choices, and he chose her again and again until he got caught. And now, with everything crumbling, he remembered me. Not out of love, but regret. There's a difference. I consulted a lawyer quietly. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want drama. I wanted peace. And peace meant walking away, without dragging it out. I didn't announce it online, didn't air our dirty laundry. My healing was private, sacred, just like the love I once had for Daniel. In therapy, I spoke things aloud, hadn't dared say in years. How I had felt small in our relationship. How he often made me feel like I needed to earn his attention. Like I was lucky to have him. But I was never lucky. He was. And he lost that. One afternoon, while walking through a bookstore, I bumped into a former coworker who hadn't seen me in months. She gasped, "You look amazing, glowing. What changed?" I smiled and said, "I stopped trying to hold things together that weren't meant to stay." It wasn't just a line. It was the truth. 3 months after that dinner, I saw Daniel again. It was in a grocery store of all places. He looked thinner, tired, older, somehow. Like life had caught up with him faster than he expected. He saw me, smiled weakly, started to walk over. I just turned and walked away. Not because I was bitter, but because I no longer felt the need to prove anything. He had chosen his story, and I had finally started writing mine. A story where I didn't sacrifice my peace to fix what someone else broke. A story where I didn't wait around hoping someone would change. A A story where I stopped settling for survival and started reaching for joy. I don't know what happened to Sasha, or to Daniel's job, or if they tried to keep seeing each other in secret. I didn't care enough to find out, because healing means letting go of things that no longer need a place in your life, even the details. These days, I wake up without knots in my stomach. I go to sleep without wondering who he's texting. I look in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I see someone I'm proud of. Not because I stayed, but because I left, on my own terms. And sometimes, the most powerful thing a woman can do is simply walk away without ever looking back.